Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. Do you ever feel like you're just waiting for the world to discover that you've just been faking it? Imposter syndrome is very real, but our next guest is here with a practical roadmap for moving past self-doubt. We welcome the author of Be Bold Today, Unleash Your Potential, Master Your Mindset, and Achieve Success, entrepreneur Leigh Burgess. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about imposter syndrome. I think a lot of us can relate, and it seems to impact women particularly, right?
Right. I think both obviously genders can experience it. Sound like in your last segment, Jonathan might have had a little bit of that, but I think it tends to come into, I think, the lives of women based on the narratives that we tell ourselves over time, as well as societal expectations. So in a sense of the delineation of more women than men, most likely it's going to impact us more.
Are there strategies that we can use when we kind of catch ourselves with those negative self-thoughts?
Yeah, probably the very first one, and it's one I used as well, that I didn't really think about things that went well. I was usually focused on the things that weren't working and concentrating on those, and then not really celebrating the wins. So even just doing something as simple as writing down, so far this month or so far this week or even so far this year, what are wins for you, small or big? That's a first step in stepping into your value.
That's a great idea, because a lot of times those negative memories, they just kind of stick out more naturally. So you have to force yourself a little bit to focus on those positive things. Tell me about the BOLD framework. What does that acronym stand for?
Sure. It's something I created, the Believe, Own, Learn, Design framework, really about being bold in our lives and really tackling and taking on the things that we want in our lives that may need change, or you may need to actually step forward into your value. But that belief plus ownership really is a big piece to overcoming imposter syndrome, because your belief or your beliefs in yourself are what's going to be the springboard for what you can own and not own. So I think in this sense of, being positive around what you've learned with your successes and your setbacks. It's not just one or the other, but then you go into the phase of really using your growth mindset to learn what you can do to actually design the best life for yourself.
That's so great. And what about in a leadership position? What does that BOLD acronym look like? Because I think a lot of people think bold must be something big and really dramatic every time.
Right. Yeah. I think some of my boldest moments actually are extremely quiet and private and probably between my ears, meaning like, just working on myself and how I talk to myself or how I move really around in the world that we live in, because I think there's always things that can knock us down. And I think as a leader, I think we have to also have a balanced sense of how we even talk to ourselves, because sometimes we talk to ourselves in a way we would never talk to another person. So really checking ourselves of how we approach that. And I think that self-talk is a big piece to our belief in ourselves, which leads to us having a lower level of imposter syndrome.
It's true. We are much harder on ourselves, we tend to be, than other people. And then what about leaving other people's expectations behind, just being able to focus on what really works for you? Are there ways that you can kind of navigate that?
Yeah, easier said than done, right? So I think we grow up with a lot of, I think, ascribed beliefs of what we should do, how we should do it, when we should do it. And I think as I've gotten older, I think kind of claiming some of that back in the sense of this is how I'm going to go forward and really align with my life. And I think it's about alignment with who you are and your purpose and passion, which sounds really, really big, right? What's your purpose? I think what you just want to make sure is you're taking the steps towards, are you, feeling joy? Are you happy? Are you doing things that you're curious about learning? And you learn in the curiosity as well as anything else. So I think really trying to stand on your own 2 feet and realizing not everyone's going to understand what you're doing or why you're doing it.
Yeah, and kind of digesting all of this and thinking about making an intentional change in your life. Any kind of change is scary, but something that kind of scares you or makes you fearful can really be beneficial, and stepping through that.
Right. That's really my definition of bold, is really stepping into the fear. It's there to keep you safe, right? It's a normal thing to feel fear, but I think fear and freedom can exist in the same plane, and that's what it was for me as I kind of moved forward with my career and started our company. Was really just, I knew everything didn't feel like just easy, and I think that's one thing as a myth about being bold, is that you're always confident and you're just going to step through and everything's unicorns and rainbows, and it's not always that way, but you're going to learn. And I think that's the key piece to kind of moving through that fear, and each step leads to a new learning. So it's like that right, left, right, left, right, left.
Hey, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. Leigh's book again is Be Bold Today, and we'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.